All right, picture this. You're sitting across from your very first client. Maybe you've rehearsed this moment in your head a dozen times, maybe more. Maybe you even wrote down a few go to responses. But now that you're here face to face, your mind goes blank. What do you say? How do you respond? What if you mess up? Does this sound familiar? If so, you are not alone. Every new counselor has that oh no moment when theory meets real life conversation. And here's the thing, nobody expects you to have all the right answers right away. Counseling is about connection, and connection is built on small, intentional skills that help clients feel heard, understood, and safe. While knowing theories and interventions is important, it's these foundational techniques that really shape your effectiveness as a counselor. Think of them as your go to tools, the things that help ground yourself when you're feeling unsure and help your client feel supported from that very first session. So, in this video, we're going to break down 5 simple but powerful techniques every new counselor should know. And these aren't just abstract ideas. We'll talk through real world examples so that you can see them in action. So here's what we're going to cover. Active listening, because how you listen is just as important as what you say. Open-ended questions, the key to deeper conversations and better insights. Reflecting and validating, so your clients know that you truly get them. Managing silence, because not every moment needs to be filled with words. And setting boundaries and managing expectations, keeping your sessions clear, structured, and ethical. And by the end of this, you'll have a solid foundation for building strong client relationships and feeling more confident in your role as a counselor. So let's get started. Starting with active listening. It goes beyond simply hearing a client's words, and it involves fully engaging with the client by listening to both what is said and what remains unspoken. This includes paying attention to emotional cues, body language, and inconsistencies between verbal and nonverbal communication. So a client might say, "I feel fine," but their tone is flat, their gaze is lowered, and they seem withdrawn. An active listener doesn't take "fine" at face value, but instead reflects back, "You say you feel fine, but I notice your voice is quieter than usual. I wonder if there's something more on your mind." Techniques like summarizing, "So what I hear you saying is," clarifying, "Can you tell me more about that?" and reflecting feelings, "That sounds really frustrating," can help ensure that the client feels heard and understood. The second technique is open-ended questions. So imagine you're sitting with a new client and the conversation feels like pulling teeth. You ask a question, they give a one-word answer. You try again, you get another short reply. It's frustrating, right? That's where open-ended questions come in. Open-ended questions invite clients to expand on their thoughts instead of shutting down the conversation. They help create a dialogue rather than a one-sided interrogation. So think of them as a way to open a door rather than to close it. So what exactly are open-ended questions? They're questions that encourage more than just a yes or no response, because instead of asking, "Do you feel anxious?" which can be answered with a yes or no, you might level up and ask, "Can you tell me more about what your anxiety feels like?" And this could still be considered a closed-ended question because "can you" can still be answered with a yes or a no. An open-ended version would be, "What's been on your mind the most lately?" These types of questions give clients room to explore their experiences and emotions, making them feel heard and understood. So consider the following words as question starters that will generally lead to open-ended questions: who, what, when, where, why, and how. And we're going to talk about why in a little bit. But using open-ended questions helps avoid one of the biggest mistakes new counselors make, the question-answer trap. This is when a session turns into a back and forth interview with the counselor asking question after question and the client giving a short response. This dynamic can make the client feel like they're being interrogated rather than engaged in a meaningful conversation. Instead of an interview, you want a flowing conversation, one where the client feels encouraged to share, reflect, and connect. So let's compare. Did that situation make you feel stressed? Can be answered in a yes or no, so it's a closed question. An open-ended version could be, how did you feel when that happened? Are you close with your family? Can be answered with a yes or no. Closed question. Open-ended version, what's your relationship with your family like? So notice how the second version in each example allows the client to shape their response in their own way. This gives them more control over what they share, making it easier for them to express their thoughts at their own pace. And so a quick heads up on why. Why questions can sometimes put clients on the defensive. Asking, "Why do you feel that way?" might make them feel like they have to justify their emotions. Instead, you could rephrase to, "What led you to feel that way?" Or, "I wonder how you came to that conclusion." That small shift helps the conversation stay open and non-judgmental. Mastering open-ended questions takes practice, but once you get the hang of it, you'll notice how much easier it is to create engaging, productive sessions. It's about giving your clients space to explore rather than boxing them into quick answers. So try it. Before your next session, Practice with your family, your partner, your friends. Practice converting closed-ended questions into open-ended ones. See how it changes the way your conversations flow. The third skill is reflecting and validating, and I really did just lump these two together as one, but they are actually two separate skills. So you get a bonus 6, not really just 5 skills in this. But imagine a time when you were upset and somebody just got it. They didn't try to fix it or tell you what to do. They simply reflected back what you were feeling, making you feel understood. That's the power of reflecting and validating. It's one of the most effective ways to build trust with clients and help them feel safe in the therapeutic space. Reflecting and validating are core counseling skills that involve mirroring a client's emotions and experiences back to them. This lets clients know that their feelings make sense and are worth exploring. It's not about agreeing with everything they say, it's about acknowledging their experience as meaningful. Reflecting focuses on what the client is saying, while validating focuses on why their experience matters. Reflections are restating what the client has expressed in a way that captures both the content and the emotion, and validation lets the clients know that their feelings are understandable, even if they seem irrational to others. And clients come into therapy with a mix of emotions, some of which they may feel ashamed of, or that others in their life have dismissed. Validation shows them that their feelings aren't wrong or too much. This helps build rapport and encourages deeper conversations. This aligns with research on therapeutic engagement, which shows that when clients feel heard, they're more likely to stay in therapy and make meaningful progress. So let's break down a few side-by-side comparisons. If you said, "Oh, that doesn't sound too bad to me," that would be an example of a minimizing response. A validating response would sound like, "That sounds really overwhelming. No wonder you're feeling stuck." A problem-solving response would be, "Well, have you tried making a schedule to manage your stress?" Versus a reflecting response could be, "It sounds like you've been carrying a lot lately and it's starting to feel unmanageable." Or you could dismiss the client's perspective altogether by saying, "I don't think they meant to hurt you," versus validating their experience with, "I can see why that would be really painful." This kind of response allows clients to feel safe expressing themselves. Research on teaching empathy also suggests that reflective and validating statements enhance the therapeutic alliance by reducing client defensiveness and increasing engagement. And I want to talk to you about another mistake that new counselors make. It's called the expert trap. When therapists take on the role of fixer, instead of allowing the client to process their emotions, instead of giving advice right away or at all, focus on being with the client in their experience. Sometimes feeling heard is the first step towards creating real change. And mastering reflection and validation takes practice, but once you start using it, you'll notice your clients opening up more, feeling more connected, and deepening their self-awareness. The next time you're with a client, pause before responding. See if you can reflect or validate first before jumping into solutions. And if you're working from a motivational interviewing model, you'll notice that there's this magical ratio that they love to talk about of they want to look at 2 reflections, validations, or summaries to 1 open-ended question. So they want you to be reflecting and validating twice as much as asking questions. The fourth technique is managing silence, and silence can feel awkward. As a new counselor, you might feel the urge to jump in and fill every pause, especially when a client stops talking. But here's the thing, silence is not empty space. It's an active tool that, when used intentionally, can encourage reflection, deepen emotions, and allow clients to process their thoughts at their own pace. Silence in therapy isn't just about not talking. It's about holding space. It's about giving clients the time that they need to sit with their thoughts, emotions, or discomfort without rushing to fill the void. Some of the most meaningful moments in therapy happen between words. And research on nonlinear listening highlights that what isn't said can be just as important as what is said. Clients often reveal deeper emotions in silence than what they do in words. When a client pauses, they may be processing something difficult, gathering the courage to say something vulnerable, or feeling overwhelmed and unsure about how to continue. Instead of jumping in with another question or comment, sitting with the silence can allow these deeper thoughts to surface. So for an example, let's say a client shares something difficult, then falls silent. Instead of rushing in with, "Can you tell me more about that?" Try this. Maintain gentle eye contact. Don't stare, that's creepy. But stay present, nod slightly, or offer an encouraging expression, and wait. Give them time to continue when they're ready. That pause might feel long, but it signals to the client that they are in control of their pace. One of the biggest challenges for new counselors is resisting the urge to rescue clients from silence. But here's the secret. When you give silence a little time, clients will fill it, often with something more meaningful than if you had spoken first. So try it. Next time you're in session, count to 5 in your head before responding. See what happens. You might be surprised at what unfolds in the space between words. And the fifth technique that I'm talking to you about today is setting boundaries and managing expectations. Imagine that you've been working with a new client. Things seem to be going well, but then they start pushing boundaries. Maybe they ask for extra time at the end of a session. Maybe they text you late at night expecting an immediate response. Maybe they blow you off. Maybe they assume therapy is a place where you'll give advice rather than help them explore their own insights. And if you don't set clear expectations early on, these issues can lead to confusion, frustration for both of you, or even ethical dilemmas. Boundaries in counseling are those invisible lines that define the limits of the therapeutic relationship. They help establish a clear framework so both the counselor and the client understand what to expect. Boundaries protect both of you, keeping the work professional, ethical, and effective. So key areas where boundaries need to be set include confidentiality. What is private and what's not? And what information must be shared with others? Session structure, start times, end times, frequency of sessions, how missed sessions are handled, and the counselor's role. You're a guide, not a fixer, a friend, or a rescuer. And you're definitely not a dinner date or a romantic interest. So the basic structure of the therapeutic relationship is communicated within the first few minutes of a session. Clients are unconsciously assessing whether it feels safe to open up, how much they're expected to talk, and what kind of relationship they'll have with you. If boundaries aren't established early, clients may unintentionally test limits, which can lead to misunderstandings or disengagement. So let's say a client is unsure about how therapy works. A simple, direct way to set expectations might be, what we talk about here stays here between us unless there's a concern for safety. We'll meet for 50 minutes, and I'll check in near the end to wrap things up. And my role is to support and guide you, not tell you what to do, but to help you explore what feels right for you. And when a client asks for something outside of boundaries, like extra time, you could say, I wish that we had more time, but we need to stick to the scheduled session. Let's pick up where we left off next time. A boundary slip would be, it's fine, we can run over a little. And that sets a precedent that can be hard to undo in the future. So it's not enough to state boundaries once. Clients will naturally test them, not out of disrespect, but to understand how the space works. Your job is to hold boundaries consistently and with kindness. For example, if a session is running over, a simple, warm wrap-up like, I really appreciate what you shared today, let's continue this next time, keeps things professional while acknowledging their experience. And think of it like this, boundaries aren't walls. They're guide rails that make the therapeutic space feel predictable and safe. If you find yourself struggling to set or maintain them, remind yourself that clear boundaries create trust, not distance. And if a boundary ever feels uncomfortable to enforce, it's a good sign to reflect on why it's needed in the first place. So there you have it. 5 essential techniques every new counselor should know. Active listening, open-ended questions, reflecting and validating, managing silence, and setting boundaries and managing expectations. These are the building blocks of a strong therapeutic relationship, and they'll help you feel more confident in your sessions. And again, nobody expects you to be perfect on day one. Counseling's a skill, it takes practice, and skills grow with practice. You'll have moments where you stumble, and that's okay, you're human. So's your client. What matters most is showing up, being present, and continuing to learn. The more you use these techniques, the more natural they'll feel. And now I want to hear from you. What's a technique that's helped you in your work? Or maybe what's one that you want to hear more about? Or if you're new to counseling, which of these do you think will be the hardest to master? Drop a comment below and let's keep this conversation going. Thanks.